Stay tuned for urban legends to ghostly tales of the paranormal, because now it's time for
Message on the Wall.
This is Message on the Wall's Haunted Cemeteries, bringing you haunted cemeteries in California. First, we go to Los Angeles Pet Memorial Park. As the name suggests, it's not people interred here, but beloved pets, some of which are just as famous as their owners. The cemetery was dedicated in 1928 by veterinarian Dr. Eugene Jones, who continued to run the cemetery for the next 40 years. The 10-acre park was then donated to the SPCA, who had more interest in the living than the dead, and instead of using the business to generate funds, looked to selling the land to developers. Fortunately, local residents and those who had pets buried at the site heard of this horrific plan and, forming a group, created SOFI, which is short for Save Our Pets History in Eternity. They began fundraising to purchase the property while lobbying the state legislature in Sacramento that brought about the first state law to protect pet cemeteries. In a setting of parkland, the pets of many of the famous Hollywood stars of their day can be found here. Los Angeles Pet Cemetery can be found on Old Scandia Lane in Calabasas. The ghost that haunts here is said to be K-Bar, a Great Dane who outlived his master, Rudolph Valentino, by 2.5 years. When he died in February 1929, K-Bar was given a lavish funeral and was interred at the pet cemetery. Visitors have heard a dog barking to the panting of what sounds like a large dog, and there are those lucky enough to have even felt that a dog is licking their hand. Moving on to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles, here you will find some of Hollywood's most glittering stars that attract visitors from all over the world to pay their respects. The cemetery opened in 1899 and is now registered as a historic site. The original cemetery that stood here was called the Hollywood Cemetery. Some of this land was sold off to build Paramount Studios, which is still in operation and, not surprisingly, is claimed to be the most haunted studio in Hollywood. It's not only the living that visit the cemetery, as there have been stories for decades of ghostly visitors, such as the Lady in Black that visits the tomb of Rudolph Valentino. Unlike his dog K-Bar, Valentino was placed in a temporary vault with plans for a crypt with a life-size statue of the Hollywood heartthrob. But these plans fell through, and he remains in an alcove at the Catholic mausoleum. Over the years, many ladies wearing black, with a black veil covering their face, copied the original, who was eventually identified as Deetra Flame, who died in 1984 and is interred at San Jacinto. Some stars like to be as active in death as they were in life, one of these being Clifton Webb, who passed away from a heart attack in 1966. Being interred at Abbey of the Psalms Mausoleum, there have been reports of strange lights, the scent of cologne, whispered voices, and cold draughts. Another that is said to haunt her grave is starlet Virginia Rapp, who brought down the career of one of Hollywood's top silent-era comedians. Her death is still talked and debated upon, as a party at the St. James Hotel turned to tragedy when the overly sized comedian took Virginia into a separate room away from the party. Within minutes, Virginia was screaming out in agony, and though an ambulance was called, she later died in hospital, with a nurse claiming that on her deathbed, Virginia had accused Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle of raping her. It was conjectured that Arbuckle, being so heavily overweight, had caused damage to the girl leading to her death. Arbuckle was charged, but 2 juries couldn't agree. With 2 hung juries, a third found him not guilty, but by this time his character was in shreds. Virginia was interred within the grounds of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery with a small plaque reading Virginia Rapp, 1895 to 1921. To find her grave, just listen out for the sobbing that is said to be heard. The Yorba Cemetery was at one time part of land on the Yorba Ranch. Through the generations, the Yorbas married into the prominent Spanish families, gaining in power and wealth. It was in 1858 that Don Bernardo Yorba set out a plot of land as a private cemetery, not only for his family but also friends. This small private cemetery is not very well known even among locals, as it is not signposted. Being abandoned, with the last burials taking place in the 1930s, and with vandalism, many of the headstones are in poor condition. Also, the Orange County Forestry often burned out the area to avoid wildfires, meaning that all the wooden markers that once sat here are now also gone. Houses are now built up around the cemetery, which was handed over to the care of Orange County and is now part of Woodgate Park on Parkwood Court in Yorba Linda. The haunting that is said to take place here only occurs on June the 15th, but only in years of an even number, meaning that the Pink Lady won't make another appearance until June the 15th, 2014. The legend goes that it is a spirit of Alvina Yorba de los Reyes, who now resides in the graveyard. She died, obviously, on June the 15th in the year 1910, when her buggy upturned in the area of the Yorba Linda golf course. She was wearing the pink dress that she can still be seen in when making her appearance, and so leading to the name, the Pink Lady. Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale boasts the most stars. Some of the stars buried here are James Stewart, Walt Disney, Sammy Davis Jr., Clark Gable, Errol Flynn and Elizabeth Taylor. The site consists of over 300 acres of land, with some of the stars hidden away in their own private gardens, giving residents on Mission Road a view like no other, because Forest Lawn has more stars interred there than anywhere else in the world. The main gates open to a fountain and green lawns, but there is a strict code for visitors. It may look just right for a picnic, but this is prohibited, along with lying or sitting on the lawns, no feeding the birds, smoking, loitering or pets, and children under 16 years of age are to be accompanied by an adult. Apart from the hauntings, there are replicas of Michelangelo's works and Leonardo's Last Supper created in stained glass. Celebrity hunters are also deterred, and it can be like looking for a needle in a haystack when it comes to finding a preferred star. These people may have wanted a little privacy when they were alive, but they strived to be adored, and being remembered in death with those wishing to pay homage should be a great honour. Interred at the Great Mausoleum is Jean Harlow, who died at the age of 26 in 1937. Her gated crypt is said to be haunted. And over at the Westwood Memorial Cemetery on Glendon Avenue is another legendary star that is said to haunt her grave. Interred within the walls of one of the mausoleums in a brass coffin is Marilyn Monroe, who is said to have been seen in the hallway. Her plaque simply reads Marilyn Monroe 1926 to 1962, and you will also notice there are always fresh flowers. Since her death, she has been joined by some prestigious stars such as Natalie Wood, Roy Orbison, Burt Lancaster, Dean Martin and Jack Lemmon. The cemetery is surrounded by buildings enclosing it from any view from the street, with the entrance being a paved driveway on Glendon Avenue. And those are a few haunted cemeteries in California. You have been listening to Message on the Wall, brought to you in association with Paranormal Parodies. You can find Paranormal Parodies at paranormal-parodies.com.